$100 trillion. That is the market size that you and I have available to us. The $100 trillion number sounds very Dr. Evil. However, that is the number that the World Economic Forum has forecasted the value to be globally over the next 10 years for digital transformation across all industries. Just to understand the size and magnitude of that number, let's compare it to the United States GDP at a tiny 18 trillion. How do we unlock that value? Just like how you would eat an elephant, one piece at a time. So I'm here to propose to you that the way we're going to unlock that $100 trillion value is by building one proof of concept at a time. There is simply no better way to convince a senior executive, an investor, friends and family that you should pursue your idea than by showing them a proof of concept. Stop telling me, show me, what do you mean? It doesn't matter if you're short or tall, young or old, if you live in Kazakhstan, Sudan, Brazil, Beirut, New York, or San Francisco, it's irrelevant. If you don't have entrepreneurial culture in you already, don't worry. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to give you the tools and resources that's going to kickstart you on your own innovation journey. Personally, I grew up in Norway, above the Arctic Circle, on a farm, center left in this picture. And the reason you can tell this is Norway is it's July and there is only a little bit of snow on the ground. I was about 7 or 8 years old, and today the fence broke on the farm. On the farm, something always breaks. I had 3 brothers and 1 newborn sister. So the fence was broken. We didn't form a fence committee. We didn't hire a fence consultant, nor did we document the process and submit it to the farming compliance department. No, we fixed the damn fence. Otherwise, we wouldn't have dinner. That is how you embed entrepreneurial culture. Don't feed the troops until the project is done. I'm here to walk you through the processes and the tools and resources for how to build a proof of concept. So first, we need a framework. The framework we're going to apply is called design thinking. Design thinking is all about embedding the customer or personas that you may have identified as early as possible in your product development lifecycle. So in this case, we got the wheel, that's the idea. We're building the prototype, the bicycle, because we talked to some people and they didn't want a wheel, they wanted transport within the city. But then as you talk to more customers and had more user studies and did more research, they may say, well, I really wanted a low-cost transportation method, the motorcycle. So we're going to focus on the prototype and proof of concept elements. Typically, you would move forward with what's called MVP, minimum viable product, and the actual product, and you would do several iterations of that. But let's stay in this box for a little bit. So stop telling me, show me what you mean. So I'm going to show you 2 examples, one proof of concept and one prototype. The proof of concept is basically, I'm at my house. This is not a stage kitchen. This is my own kitchen. I'm using my phone, and I'm pulling down an espresso machine from a digital catalog. I'm placing it on my kitchen counter, spinning it around, make sure it fits right to my next to my beer keg, for those of you with sharp eyes. And it looks good. It's the right depth. It's the right height. I'm using voice. I'm going to change the color to black because that's really what I want. And then I can double check it, make sure that, all right, yeah, it looks good in black. That's what I want. I'm going to go ahead and place the order, and hopefully it's on my doorstep tomorrow morning. The prototype is of different fidelity, not always, but most of the time. In other words, it's cheaper to make and faster to create. A POC, usually requires more resources and time. So the prototype is a personal prototype and of interest to me. I like steaks. I grew up on a farm, you already know that. So when I want a steak perfectly made, for me, medium rare, 128 degrees or 54 degrees Celsius, I cook it at home. However, if we are out, how do you know that the steak is approximately 128 degrees? You really don't, unless you cut into it, sample it. So here's how I'm going to solve that problem. Meet the exometer. It's a prototype. The idea is that the LCD display is built into the handle, so when the steak arrives at my table, I can just look at it, do a few Instagram photos. I think this will be a killer on Instagram, personally. And then I can see, yeah, that is 128 degrees. I'm a happy customer. However, there may be some issues from the restaurant owners in the sense of they don't want 15 to 20 axes flying around at 8 o'clock every evening. I can understand that. So it's a prototype, but it may lead to other iterations. Now I'm going to give you the ingredients for how you can build your own innovation lab for $100. I've built low-cost innovation lab. I've been part of teams that have built multi-million-dollar innovation labs. Here are the ingredients. $15 in markers and sticky. $5 for a sketchbook where you can draw out your big idea and storyboard it. $20 for a whiteboard because sometimes you just want to scratch down some notes real quick. And then some templates that can be specific to your industry, or if you're a big fan of your own operating system like iOS, Android, Facebook, etc., then you can buy those templates specifically for that. And there are cloud-based services available that are offering you monthly subscription-based services where you can get a plethora of digital assets available to you. And lastly, a presentation template for either Keynote or PowerPoint. Extremely low cost, but high value. I use this all the time for personal work. And the idea is that you take your sticky notes, your ideas, your prototyping output, and then put it into a presentation that you want to socialize. And here is the best news. If you cycle through 3 or 4 of these prototyping cycles, you're going to be amazed at how good you're going to be at storytelling, and you're going to be totally impressed at how quickly you can assemble tactical artifacts for your idea. It doesn't matter what industry you're doing this for. It doesn't matter what technology, nonprofit, for-profit, public, private. It's technology agnostic, what I just went through. Blockchain, artificial intelligence, C#, Java, bring it on. And if someone tells you that your idea is a stupid one, feel free to share this slide. There are some guidelines, if you will, around how to assemble a team and the consistency of that team. This image happens to be from ING Direct. We were the first bank. ING Direct is probably known to be one of the most successful global digital banks. And what we employed early on, this is 11 years ago, was visioning sessions, innovation sessions, and hackathons before it became a cool word. And we put rails on some of the projects. Rails are typically time and money, typically. So the idea was this is specifically for a US savings product. It shouldn't take more than 6 months to build and shouldn't cost more than $100,000. It's good to apply rails to keep the troops in control so they don't go for total scope creep, unless you don't want that. So I don't recommend it early on in the ideation phases because you want to get all the good ideas out first. And then how do you assemble a killer team? Did you know that 70% of corporate innovation labs are failing? Failing meaning they're not outputting what they were intended there to do. That is a big number, and the reason is most of them end up being executive playhouses or innovation theaters where they just show it to their customers and say, hey, look, we got this multi-million-dollar office with free coffee. Come on in. And it's all about the people. It's all about you, and I. It's the culture. The team, each team should consist of about 5 people. And it's not just me saying it. Jeff Bezos said it best. He said, if it takes more than 2 medium-sized pizzas to feed a team, it's too big. And I don't think it's by coincidence that most global SWAT teams consist of 5 team members. You need a subject matter expert, but you need as diverse as possible of a team. I've led many global teams. I often hire not solely for diversity, but I ensure it's there because it gives you much, much better ideas. And then, lastly, put on an alternative world lens. If you're in the health, or if you're servicing the healthcare market, why don't you ask yourself, what would Harley-Davidson do in this case? If you're in finance or manufacturing or pharma, ask yourself, what would Amazon do? I think those are extremely helpful. And if you have an idea, like my axometer, that you're passionate about, don't ever give up on it, okay? Meet the epitome of perseverance, James Dyson. Did you know that he built 5,126 prototypes over 15 years, and they all sucked? In a good way. Then he built one more, number 5,127, and that sucked so bad that the board of directors said, we're shipping it. And before you knew it, it was a multi-billion-dollar company. So I'm here to propose to you that we've identified a market of 100 trillion. We've shared some tools and resources and techniques for how you can get there, but now it's all up to you. So open the door, bring in the box that's outside. More than likely, it's a new espresso machine in black. Pour yourself a cup of coffee and get started. Thank you.